Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Taylor's gone. Come on, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio back on this Tuesday. Happy to have you and happy to be here on this kind of chilly day, but that's okay. What are you going to do? It's that time of year. What do we got? Temperatures in the 30s today. That's about right. So what do you expect? But appreciate you being with us here on this second day of the week. On the program today, Mike DeCourcy will be joining us. Bill Bender as well from the Sporting News, J.D. Campbell, and plenty to talk about. The last of a dying breed, these conference championships and bowl games, opt-outs. Notre Dame can just go suck it. Notre Dame should be banned from the postseason for another year. They didn't make the play. They didn't make the championship. So we're going to take our ball and go home. You know what? Screw Notre Dame. I am sick and tired of Notre Dame. I'm sick and tired of the SEC. You know what? If you're a badass, you don't have to tell everybody you're a badass. But when you got to keep knocking on the door, we deserve 7 bids to the CFP. It sounds like Greg Sankey is already afraid that the Big Ten is going to win a 3rd straight national championship. Yet to be told. But I'm going to be honest with you. People are going to disagree, but I think the 3 best teams might be from the Big Ten. Georgia is going to be tough. Texas A&M's tough. I mean, Texas Tech, not Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M's a cream puff. They're the biggest blowhard. That's the Texas A&M is the perfect example. Boy, I just jumped right into it today, didn't I? Texas A&M is the perfect example of the SEC's bullcrap. Go look at their schedule. 7 conference wins over one of the weakest schedules in all of college football. Their schedule sucked. And, they're number 3. Yeah, right. Whatever. Georgia's a good team. Georgia's the best team in the SEC. Vanderbilt might be the 2nd best team in the SEC. I don't know. Heisman Trophy finalist announced yesterday. Speaking of Vanderbilt, they got one in there. Congratulations to the Commodores. Notre Dame got one in, of course. Whatevs. But Julian Sand from Ohio State and topped off by the overwhelming betting favorite to win the Heisman, Fernando Mendoza. We have a presser with him tonight before the basketball game. And I was already thinking maybe I should ask him, since everyone, I don't know, there's so much that has been asked of Fernando. I'm trying to think of something different, but I'm wondering if he knows about Joe Theismann, I guess I should say. His name is actually Joe Theismann. And most of you know, some of you might not, but back in the 70s when Joe Theismann was a quarterback at Notre Dame and they were doing what they do, trying to look at him. See, wow, this story accidentally just leads right into trying to bushwhack people. So his name was Joe Theismann, but they said, hey, why don't we call him Joe Theismann instead? Because it rhymes with Heisman. Yeah, so ever since then, he's been called Joe Theismann. Well, I wonder if Fernando should have legally changed his name to Fernando Mendoza. Be kind of cool walking around life with a name Heisman Mendoza. Just saying. I mean, the only thing better than that would be McLovin. Heisman Mendoza and McLovin. Sounds like a law firm, baby. Not bad. Not bad. Yeah, I mentioned the last of dying breed. These conference championships and bowl games, I don't know. They're going to have the conference championships. They're not going to just dissolve them because of money. They want that dollar, baby. Any game that they can put on TV, they're going to put on TV. But I see these conferences are going to have to start. I'm going to sneeze in a second. Using the end of the season, excuse me, as play-in games. It's not like I just came up with that, and I'm not acting like I did. But, and a perfect example is because, and it can happen anytime. Let's be honest. But I've had several people mention that just had someone text me, and I saw someone mention on the comments that they heard Stephen Daly may have torn his ACL in the post-game celebration, which would be one of the saddest things of all time. And I saw him on crutches with a knee brace on after the game, and he looked pretty down in the face. So I'm not going to predict that, but that would be a huge loss for Indiana. That's not one you're getting back. He leads the nation in tackles for loss. He's one of the baddest of the bad men that they have, and what makes that defense so part of what makes that defense so special. That is a serious loss for Indiana. But they'll have to just go next man up, man. That's what champions do. Andrew says Feinbaum admitted the Big Ten team will win it all. Oh, he must have said that's because the SEC got screwed somehow. I can't wait to cut that clip from Don yesterday talking about Feinbaum. Man, so Notre Dame, we didn't make the playoff, the college football playoff, so we're going to take our ball and go home. Join a conference. Play in a conference championship. Jeez. Don't lose to a weak ass. They've got weak losses every year. I don't care what anybody says. That loss to Texas A&M was weak. Texas A&M is not good. They're all puff. They beat. Look at who they won over. Their 7 conference wins were against teams that were 12-44. They won 3 of those games over teams that were a combined 2-11 in conference play or something stupid. They had 2 wins in conference play total, and they won those games by a total of 10 points. So, yeah, let A&M and Notre Dame go play in the stink bowl, anything. But don't know if anybody's coming back. Don't know. They're not gonna tell us anything as unless it's about to happen, I do not expect to see, for us to hear anything. That's just the standard. That's just how it is. And unless someone is lost for the season, they'll usually make that announcement when it is confirmed. And golly, to look and celebration, it's not like it hasn't happened before. It has. But it's just one of those, you go through these wars for 14 weeks, playing 13 games, 15 weeks rather, 13 games you've made it through, playing against some of the toughest lines in the sport. Ohio State, Oregon, Iowa, Penn State. And you heard and you're celebrating, and it goes down. My, oh my. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, our buddy Mike DeCourcy will join us. We'll keep all of this conversation rolling. There's plenty of it. Back with it and more on the other side of these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Glad to have you along. Jim Coyle with you, and joined by one of our absolute favorites from the Sporting News, Mike DeCourcy. Hello, Michael. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Jim. What's going on?
Just recovering from a long weekend, putting all the things back in place, seeing what's what, trying to count everything up, and seeing how it all turned out. But what an incredible sports weekend, an incredible weekend for Indianapolis. Of course, an incredible weekend for the Indiana athletics program, and just more. And then we've got all kinds of fun stuff to talk about. Notre Dame, I said they can suck it. I'm done with Notre Dame. They can just join an effing conference or shut up. Shut your mouth. Quit getting beat by teams you shouldn't get beaten by, and get in a conference where you can at least try to qualify for a conference championship, and maybe that weak-ass ACC league that you like to be a part of. But I'm done with them taking their ball and going home because they didn't make the college football playoff. That's aggravating to me to no end, that they're even allowed. It's like they should be banned from postseason for another year. Well, this is really pissed me off. And I know that there used to be all the opt-outs and all that, and we've done, hey, NIL and rev share, I say bull to that. You're going to get paid, you're playing. And if this game is up, it's up. And they should be obligated to be a part, or you don't get to participate in the CFP.
See, I here's where I disagree with that. I think the bowl system.
I'm sure there's a lot to disagree with because I go off and I'm stupid. Trust me.
No, you're not stupid. But the bowl system, it has been a weight on college football for. I initially said a century, but one of my readers corrected me and said that probably the college football playoff, some semblance of it, should have started after World War II. So it's about 80 years. So I'm going to go with that. I think that's more like the bowl system is about the bowl system. It is not about college football.
No,
they have never been about college football. And so the idea that the sport has placated the bowl system for as long as they have, I don't care that Notre Dame did not want to play in the Pop-Tarts Bowl or whatever bowl. I don't care. But the comments that were made by their athletic director, especially on the Dan Patrick show on Monday, I found were atrocious. Blaming the ACC for lobbying for their full member Miami to get into the playoff that they deserved. And saying,
I'm sorry. And didn't they beat Notre Dame?
They did. You know,
okay,
you said that's the other thing I'll disagree with you on. You said they stopped losing to opponents they have no business losing to. No, they lost to two really good teams. They lost to Texas A&M and Miami. However, they didn't beat any really good teams.
We'll talk about Texas A&M. I'll give you Miami. Texas A&M didn't beat, just sucks.
Texas A&M
conference wins over teams that combined for 12 and 44. They barely beat teams.
You know what?
Wins with 10 points. Yeah, I don't care.
You're 100% right, Jim. They didn't beat anybody in the SEC of consequence. But you know who they did beat?
George. No, who would they?
No, they beat Notre Dame.
Alabama. Oh, Notre Dame. Yeah,
that's right. The thing. They Notre Dame can't be in ahead of A&M because A&M beat them. Notre Dame can't be in ahead of Miami with a comparable record because Miami beat them. And so they can be ahead of USC, I guess. And they are. They would have been. They would have gotten a better bowl or whatever. I don't know. But like Notre Dame has been independent for as long as they've played football. And for the first 80 years of that, I guess, maybe something, you could say that there was some logic to that. But once the college football universe started to shift, they had a decision to make. They could have fewer opportunities to get where they wanted to go and more control over their money, or they could have more opportunities to get where they wanted to go and share some of their money and have to follow conference rules and have their schedule arranged for them, or a lot of their schedule arranged for them, et cetera. And they said, you know what, we're good. We're going to stay independent. And that's counter to logic, competitive logic, because wait, if you're in the college football, if you're in a conference, you have two routes into the college football playoff. You win your conference, you're in, or you put together one of the 7 best seasons as judged by the committee to get in. Right now, they only have one of those two. And they failed to do the one that they had, which is to compile one of the 7 best seasons that did not did not earn an automatic bid. So I have no sympathy whatsoever for their team, other than for the players who were essentially hoodwinked by the college football playoff committee for the better part of a month.
Yeah.
Gracefully said, you're in. Is that 5 year ins? And then said, no, you're in. You know, there's no way that the committee should have done that. On the first week, they should have said, Notre Dame, Miami, same record. Miami beat Notre Dame. Miami's up here. Notre Dame's down there. And it should have stayed that way unless and until Miami's overall record fell behind what Notre Dame's did, which it never happened. Miami's always was equivalent. And in the end, they made the right call, but the 5 weeks of meaningless drama, which everyone in the sporting world said, that's not right, man. I mean, I'm not saying everybody, like almost everybody in the sporting world said, how can you have two teams with the same record ahead when one of them didn't beat anybody of consequence and the other maybe only won one game of consequence, but it was over the other team in the discussion? There was no excuse for that.
Now, the one thing I do think is I don't think Alabama, and this is tricky. I know this is going to get into the conference championship debate. I just don't feel Alabama has passed the eye test for me, which nobody gives a crap about my eye test, and that doesn't matter. I get that.
Jim,
but if we're going to talk about Notre Dame and Alabama, just on their merits, I would like, I'd like to see that game. But when you keep losing, I'm like, okay, dude, I've seen you lose 3 times. I don't need to see it a 4th time. We're going for a national championship here.
If one team plays 12 games and the other plays 13, and the one team loses the 13th game, is that fair to say, well, you lost that game? Yeah, but the other team didn't play it because they're not in a conference championship game, and B, they're not in a conference. So I don't think that's necessarily a fair argument.
Oh, I'm sure it's not.
Within the same window, again, equivalent records. And then measuring that, you had Alabama with a relatively high quality win against 10-2 Vanderbilt. And the best win, the single best regular season win of any team in college football. Can't say the best win because we saw that happen at Lucas Oil on Saturday night. But the best regular season win of any team in college football was Alabama at Georgia. And if Alabama wanted to thump their chest a little bit, they could even say, hey, ours was a road win and yours was neutral, so ours is better. And I probably wouldn't go with that. The committee didn't go with that. But either way, it doesn't really matter because it's still by far the best win that anybody has. That needs an argument because Indiana doesn't. They're automatic qualifiers. So it's the best win that anybody's got. And again, Notre Dame points to, hey, we beat Boston College and Arkansas, man.
Yeah. Yes, they did. And Navy too. Don't forget about Navy.
They beat 2 teams that did not win a conference game in their leagues, and one, I think, if I remember right, I don't have the paper.
But they
anymore.
didn't lose to Northern Illinois this year, at least.
Well, there is that. Yes. Oh, here I do have the paper now. 2 teams that didn't win a conference game, and I believe Boston College won 1. So Purdue and Arkansas 0 conference wins, and Boston College 1. And then there's Syracuse, which I think also might have won 1. Not sure about that, but I think they only won 1. So like that, their schedule was atrocious, Jim. And they played they played 2 high quality teams and 1 reasonably high quality team at home. And so their whole resume is built on, we won by a lot of points over really, really bad teams. That's just not enough. If there weren't someone else out there with a win over Notre Dame, like in Miami's case, or a win at Georgia in Alabama's case, then you could probably put them in there and say, sorry, nobody else to put in. But like, we don't do that in college hoops. Unless in the unlikely event that the team that only has 1 quad 1 win has the chair of the committee as its athletic director, then sometimes it happens. But for the most part, you better have some quality wins or you're not getting into March Madness. And I just don't see the argument for Notre Dame in this circumstance.
Boy, they sure do up in South Bend, baby.
Oh yeah,
they're not happy. But of course, it's got to be that way no matter where. We've got Greg Sankey that the other day, and again, this is what drives me insane. I don't mind you fighting for your league, your people, your teams, your coaches, your players, damn well you ought to be. That's your job. I get that, and I respect that. But when you come out and disrespect the rest of the sport, the rest of the institutions, the rest of the coaches, by telling them the SEC deserves 7 of these spots.
Did he say that?
Yes. The rest of you can go away.
I missed that.
Yeah, I didn't. I'll have to try to pull that up. But
I will have to look for that because I did not hear Sankey say that they deserve 7 positions. But
someone sent it to me. I've got to find that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm not surprised. But again, it's all off of misperception to me. I don't think Texas A&M is a good team. I don't, because they just, like you said, they haven't beaten anybody, and they were barely beating half the teams they beat that sucked. So I'm like, yeah, that does not do much for me. And so it doesn't matter. The games happen on the field, but I don't think there's about maybe 5 teams that can win the national championship. I truly believe. And they're the 4 byes, and you can throw Oregon into that mix. I think that's where it's going to stop. Not that it can't happen, but I don't know that I can see enough teams that can get by Indiana, get by Ohio State, get by Georgia, by Texas A&M, by Oregon. That's outside of that. I'm like, wow, that's going to need a lot of things to fall into place.
I might throw Ole Miss in there, although who knows with
all the stuff. See, I would have if it hadn't been for all the changeover, and that could work out in a positive way sometimes, right? That fires people up, but
yes,
I just think those are the 5 teams that's where it's going to come from, and it should. That's how it's supposed to be. That's who's ranked, and football's a little more chalky than basketball. But
here's the good thing about that, Jim, is how many teams did you identify? 5. Not 4. Not 4. My camera's over
5.
here. Not 4, 5. So if we had not expanded to 12
potential
teams,
6 and a potential 6.
There you go. If we had not expanded to 12 teams with 5 automatic qualifiers, then one of those teams, maybe 2, would have been excluded from this. So the 12-team playoff is a smashing success. And I still think that the way that college football, the universe has expanded over the last few years, whether it's the expansion of the playoff or NIL or a combination thereof, I think 14 to 16 is a worthwhile exploration. I don't think beyond that is necessary.
A quality football game with 2 teams that have high quality wins.
Yep. Sorry about that. Don't know what happened there, brother.
I think that was Greg Sankey popping in there to say they deserve 7 bids.
Yeah, there we go. Let's get it back in there. Well, I hit the wrong one.
We'll see a quality football game with 2 teams that have high quality wins. One of them actually won a game. The best win on the record this year is Alabama's win over Georgia at Georgia, the 3rd-ranked team in the nation, because 1 and 2 have no losses. So I focus on the opportunity, and I think their participation in the college football playoff is clear, but we're going to have to see what happens today. I actually think we deserve 7 in. I think the 7 teams that are in the top 14, half of the top 14 teams are from the SEC. That's an indication that this league is different. The expectations are different. The competition is different, and the rewards should respect each of those elements.
He's a moron. He is an absolute idiot. And I don't. Thank you, Griff. Appreciate you. That scared the crap out of me, though. I didn't know what was going on there. And just mind-boggling that you would be that bombastic. And to me, it is disrespectful because, okay, so you're saying basically nobody else deserves to get in because 3 of the best teams in the freaking country alone are coming from the SEC. So now
what's interesting about the SEC is that if their schedules in the SEC worked out really well for the quality teams in the league. Texas A&M is the most extreme example of that. Played virtually all the bottom feeders in their league. And there are quite a few bottom feeders, Jim, in that league. For the league that's the best, there are quite a few bottom feeders in there. Arkansas, Kentucky. And I know this is not perennial, but we're talking about this year. Arkansas, Kentucky in particular, South Carolina. There are a lot of teams in that league that were really poor. And Texas A&M managed to play most of them. But if you look at the record, I mean, there's a lot of that in a lot of the highly inflated records. Texas's record, again, they lost to a lot of the quality teams they played and beat the average to below average to poor teams that they played. And there's a ton of that in the league, and every other league has that. I mean, like, I'm not sitting here telling you that SC, which I think finished 9-3. Is that right? I believe that's right. I'm not sitting here telling you they were good. That's the difference. Is that everybody else is going to sell you on this team is great because they play in this league. I'm not selling you on that in SC's case. They were like I said, they were above average. It was a relatively good year for USC, but not a great year. Nobody's telling you Michigan was great. But in the SEC,
I will give you a team that they just got one loss too many, and I hate it because, boy, they could just really shove it to the SEC if it wasn't. Iowa is 8-4.
Yeah,
8-4. Mike, all 4 losses were to ranked teams by a grand total of 15 points.
Yeah, I mean, they lost to Indiana, they lost to Oregon. I'm trying to see who else there was.
Was it Illinois, maybe?
I think Illinois was the difference maker there. Illinois had a good team. Again, if Illinois were in the SEC, somebody would be trying, Sankey would be up there trying to sell them as a powerhouse. That's the only difference. It's brand. And it's the fact that there was a lot of Illinois, Iowa, SC, Michigan in the middle of the Big Ten. There wasn't a lot of that in the SEC. In the SEC, your middle was not overwhelming. Washington was a quality team. Illinois was a quality team. Minnesota and Nebraska were quality teams, but they weren't good. I mean, like playoff good or whatever. But that's what they're trying to sell down there. I don't do that. I'm not trying to tell you that those teams were elite just to make it look better for the Big Ten. That's not what I've ever done or ever would do. SC had a nice year. Iowa had a nice year. Oregon had a very good year where they lost to an exceptional Indiana team. But that's the dividing line. No one's going beyond Oregon and trying to sell you on SC as a playoff team. In the SEC they would.
Oh, absolutely. They would be banging down the door. I came in kind of hot today, Mike. I was fired up, buddy. Sorry.
Absolutely. I love it.
I know it makes it fun. I just love to have fun. But it's going to be great now. And we'll take a break. But Heisman finalists have been announced. Of course, we kind of went as we expected it to go. Fernando Mendoza is the heavy betting favorite now. Julian Sayin, as well as Jeremiah Love and Diego Pavia, who, when we come back, buddy, if Fernando hadn't picked up the pace on Saturday, neither quarterback was really doing anything. And I'm like, they're going to let Diego Pavia sneak in and win the Heisman. But we got lots more coming up. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News is with us, back with more right after these messages.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this Tuesday. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News with us, and always glad for that. Mike, I saw that there's so many different polls that come out, but I saw the one that came out from it was the National Football Foundation, I think. Their NFF poll, I believe. And it was their final poll, and Indiana received 55 of 56 number one votes. And I'm like, who is this idiot that gave Georgia the number one vote? They're a great team, and they might end up winning the national championship. But there's no way on God's green earth they deserve to be number one right now. They've lost a game. There's a team that just finished the season number one, beating the team that was number one, that was ranked as between the two best teams on both sides of the ball. And it's just more, the SEC can't get out of their own way. It's an Arkansas guy who did that. I reached out. I said, all right, who is this? I'm just curious. Arkansas voter, but Georgia is one of those teams that,
oh, absolutely,
they are scary as hell. Georgia reminds me of Indiana in the way they are both superb second half teams. Georgia has been out of games. Tennessee, I think, was kicking the crap out of them. That was nothing. They came back and just rolled. Indiana's had to come back against Iowa, had to come back against Penn State. Had to fight in there and do the same against Ohio State. So it's just Ohio State. I could see them, of course, any of those 5 teams I mentioned, I could see there. But Georgia's is a scary team, man. You can't get rid of them in the second half of a game.
Let me give you, though. Okay, on the one hand, we don't have to go through Indiana's entire schedule, but they beat a high-level playoff team on their home field in Oregon, and then they beat the number 2 seed, and even if they had been seeded properly, probably should have been the number 3 seed, but no lower than that, in Ohio State on a neutral field. So Indiana's 2 best wins this season did not occur with a home field advantage.
And over top 2 teams, actually, both of them. Oregon was number 2 at the time, I believe.
Right. So Georgia defeated, and I'm not even going to talk about their low-level wins, defeated Tennessee on the road, Tennessee mid, Alabama, they lost. Then they beat Kentucky, poor, Auburn, average, Ole Miss, they beat at home, Florida, poor, Mississippi State, poor, Texas, above average, USC territory, then Charlotte, Georgia Tech. They struggled, and since we're doing this eye test stuff, they struggled to beat Georgia Tech, a team that gave up 28 first-half points the week earlier to a average or good Pitt team. And then they struggled to beat Florida. They beat Ole Miss by a touchdown. They were only 10 points better than Auburn. So they had plenty of not passing the eye test, so to speak, along the way. So why would they be number one? Well, because of regional bias, and which is why I've always loathed polls. There are many reasons I like voting on who's good is the dumbest thing we've ever invented in sports. And so there's that. And so then you look, Georgia could absolutely win the college football championship. There's no doubt in my mind. And they're probably going to have, because of the adherence to the bowl system relative to the placement of the later rounds of the tournament, the quarters, finals, and the semis and finals, they're probably along the way going to have a reasonably decent home field advantage somewhere in there. I'm pretty sure that their quarter game might be in Atlanta. I'm not positive of that. I'd have to look at it.
Indiana's or the next, if they were made it to the quarter or the
would that be a semi? I saw it somewhere. So that'd be the
semifinal would be at the Peach Bowl.
Yeah, see, that's just ridiculous, and that's why it's to me, if you're going to make the college football playoff perfect, expand it to 14 or 16, and get rid of the attachment to the old bowls, and start putting those games in wherever. I'm not saying you got to put them in weather. I'm not saying you have to, but Indy, Detroit, Vegas, LA, San Antonio, maybe even Dallas, Houston, etc., or some warm weather.
Pretty much like the NFL. I mean, like the NFL
in the NFL, then you do have weather, and I'm not saying you have to put Georgia in Pittsburgh, let's say, in January.
But why not? How it works out, the bracket wise, if it worked out that way.
Well, I'm saying neutral field in Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Because ostensibly, L.A., the Rose Bowl, Dallas, the Cotton Bowl, Atlanta, the Peach Bowl, all that is supposed to be neutral territory, but it's clearly not.
But it's also this is weary for fans, for teams, the expense that you're asking all these people have to pay now to do this. Why not play these games at home until you?
Well, that would be another. That would be. I think if that would be the other thing that I would do is that I would go up to through the quarters. I would go home field. Absolutely.
You save money out the butt. I mean, nobody's benefiting from those other games other than the bowls.
Yes, that's my point.
You were right. That's why they're holding on for dear life, because they have no reason.
Yes. That like Ohio State last year in the quarters played I believe they played Tennessee. I think that was a quarter game. It might have been a first round game. In Columbus. Yeah, that was a first round game. So then they should have also played their next round game, or actually they should have played their next round game in Oregon. They should have been at Oregon in the second game, the quarterfinal game. They should have been in Oregon. That should have been on at Outson Stadium on the Ducks' home field, because they'd earned it, and instead they went to relatively neutral territory in suburban Los Angeles, and Ohio State pasted them.
Yeah, and so we have got some great matchups. What are the first round matchups intrigue you? I was looking through there. I'm like, well, I wonder who, because last year we were like, oh boy, Oregon, sure, they probably didn't get the draw that they wish they would have gotten, having to play Ohio State again. And I'm looking through who could possibly play whom, SEC and Big Ten, and then you've got the Big 12. It's just a great mix and match of teams and possibilities. We've got the possibility of Indiana playing Alabama and Kalen DeBoer, who was their previous OC just a few years ago.
Yes.
But of course, just as equally, they could play Oklahoma. But just the crazy quirk of that possibility. There was the possibility of Indiana nearly playing James Madison, who made it in. So it just been.
They still could. All James Madison has to do is beat Oregon and Texas Tech. That's all it has to happen.
That's it. But yeah, it's just been great and fun. And other than the whining, this has been a blast.
and I can't wait for the games now.
Well, when I talked on Twitter with Seth Davis, who said there's always complaining at the edge of the field. At 16 or 17, like 16/17, I don't give any credence at all to the team that got eliminated. At 12, I think because it's really hard to discern. I think the committee got it right, but Vanderbilt, Notre Dame to an extent, a couple others might have had a case for inclusion in the 12. But I don't think anybody got a raw enough deal to warrant a complaint, other than, like I said, the emotional misery that Notre Dame's players felt going from in the field to out of the field through no fault of their own. I mean, they should not have ever been, quote, in the field to feel like they had earned something and then have it taken away from them. They should always have been out of the field hoping that they got a break and then got in. But the committee, in order to, I believe, in order to manufacture drama to make you tune in each week, and especially to tune in on Selection Sunday, that they manufactured the drama. So that's kind of how I felt about it. As far as the circumstance with the first round, I mean, I really like. I think that the Miami game against Texas A&M is going to be riveting. I just don't see how it's not. I think it should be highly competitive. And if it's not in one direction or the other, I think it certainly makes for a fascinating confrontation, as well as Alabama against Oklahoma. I mean, it's a rematch, I believe. I think you look at a game between two high-end SEC teams, and you're looking at something that should really be compelling television. And I don't know that the other two games are going to be great. I don't know that James Madison against Oregon, I don't expect them to play very well out there. And Tulane Ole Miss, we'll see what the results of Lane Kiffin's exit will be on Ole Miss. But Tulane doesn't have an advantage in that department because their head coach is on his way out too. He's at least coaching the game or games. But I think two of those first four opening round games are fascinating. And I would have liked it if the ACC had some vision and said, let's see here, we can break a tie on this, or we can say, well, shouldn't we want our highest rated potential playoff team to get into the championship game if it's available to them? Yeah, let's make that our tiebreaker. First tiebreaker would be head-to-head in a two-team circumstance. If it's multiple teams, the first tiebreaker should be highest-ranked college football playoff team. Jim, they got people that like work on this stuff all day long. It's all they do is football. It's what they're there for. And still, their tiebreaker was some convoluted thing that put a 5-loss team into their championship playoff. I'd say that was a pretty massive fail on the part of the ACC. And I don't know that Notre Dame paid the price for that, but you can certainly make a conspiracy theory type argument that they did. That if Miami had gotten in as the conference championship team, then Notre Dame would have been there for the at-large. If Miami had won that game, certainly Miami would not have been in the at-large pool, and then it might have been available to Notre Dame.
And now the SEC is going to have to go back as well and kind of fix whatever it is to make sure that they don't have that situation happen again, because the absolute worst possible thing that could have happened to them happened, although they did get Miami in. Maybe it was better for the game that Miami got in instead of Virginia. I don't know. Who cares? But it'll be fun to see. It would have been interesting to see Notre Dame get in and have to play Miami again. And if this was the basketball tournament, that would have happened. Exactly, because that's exactly.
No, Jim. If it were the basketball tournament, the rules would be against it. You couldn't. You couldn't have a rematch.
Well, there's that, especially with these few teams. But they always try to match the teams up when we couldn't get those great matchups. But I think this is going to be a fantastic playoff. I think it's going to be, again, better yet, because I think there are 5. I think that's more teams that had a shot last year. I don't know that 5 teams really had a shot at winning the national championship last year. And I do think, while I still do think Indiana is the best team, and I think that they've proven that now. They've proven that their defense will handle an offense with 2 first-round receivers out there. They shut their Ohio State running game down. They hold them to 58 yards for the game. So the defense is for real. Now, I mentioned something earlier. I had some people, I don't, because I don't like talking about injuries until it's announced, and because IU does not like that. But there's been some mention that people are hearing Stephen Daly may have gotten hurt in the post-game celebration. Kind of semi-seriously hurt.
Ooh.
Now, no idea if that's the case. I did see him in a knee brace and on crutches after the game. But hopefully it is not serious, but not sure they're going to get him back in 3 weeks. And he is probably the most underrated defensive lineman in the country. He was an honorable mention, Big Ten, all Big Ten, not anything else, although he led the nation in tackles for loss. And was a replacement for a guy who got hurt and was lost for the season, Kellen Wyatt. But leads the nation right now in tackles for loss. And just a superb hope that he's okay, Stephen Daly. But that's the kind of stuff that other teams are gonna deal with as you get into this.
Yeah, I think you're right. When I watched the Oregon game, that in particular, Jim, that woke me up to what I mean. We saw the Illinois game and what happened there, and Illinois and how Indiana destroyed Illinois, and it felt like what we would have expected: an offensive explosion, and a dynamic offensive show on the part of Fernando Mendoza and his assorted collection of eligibles, as Mike Tomlin would call them. That's what we expected them at their best. But then when the Oregon game happened, that woke me up to like, wow, this defense hits. And part of the reason they hit is because they're always in the right place to be able to put on a significant hit when a play is made. And as you know, as the season advanced, they continued to escalate defensively, even though they didn't have the challenges. And then when they met a massive challenges, those guys are great, Jim. Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith are absolutely magnificent wide receivers. It's not the first time Indiana's had 2 good wideouts. I mean, Ohio State's had 2 good wideouts. They seem to always have at least 2 on the field. And then they have a third who acts as the third wideout and waits in the wings to be the next All-American or first-round pick. And they have that too. They have 4 really good wideouts, 3 great ones, and 2 elite ones at this stage of their development. And Indiana didn't wipe those guys off the field. They still made a couple plays here or there, but they didn't make a lot of plays. It was an extraordinary defensive performance Saturday night in Indianapolis. And so absolutely Indiana could win this thing, which is, there's been a lot of debate lately about the turnaround. And where does it rank in the history of college sports? And I think you absolutely, in terms of speed of and efficacy combined, like to go from just okay, not very good, historically poor, to number 1 in the country in 2 years. No one's ever done that. Of course, the landscape is a little different now because of portal and NIL. But to do what he's done in the amount of time is staggering. It really is. Kurt's legacy now will be not the guy who was underemployed for most of his career, so to speak, who had all this ability and was at IUP or an assistant in Alabama or at mid-major James Madison, but now the guy who got Indiana into the college football playoff as the number 1 seed. And of course, if he then goes on and adds a national title or a national championship appearance to the Big Ten title, it'll be like nothing anyone's ever done. And again, my wife got tired of me saying during the period when the Penn State thing was out there that it would be, he will not leave, because if he just stays, they're going to build a statue of him outside Memorial Stadium. If he stays
maybe
for 4
the
or
end of
5
this
years,
season,
they might begin construction now. But here's where I'll give Sig the most credit, not just even in what he's done, but in saying, I don't need to go to Penn State to do this. I can do this here. And Lane Kiffin did not have the courage to do that, did not have the conviction to do that.
Great point.
Because it's not about money. Like you can say, well, he got a big raise to go to LSU. Here's the thing, Jim. If he had stayed at Ole Miss, he was getting a big raise, probably within, like a few dollars, and it might have been more. But it wasn't about money. It was about the challenge. It's harder at Ole Miss to do it than it is at LSU. It's also a lot harder to do it at Indiana rather than Penn State. But Kurt said, I can keep doing this. Google me.
Absolutely. There's a lot more to Google, man. And make sure you Google Mike DeCourcy and find him at the Sporting News and keep up with all his great content. Mike, we have a basketball game tonight and didn't mention a word about it.
Yeah. At the moment, probably better. Hoosiers will work it around, but they are against the elite opponents that they played. They're still trying to figure out how to deal with that. And of course, on the road at Minnesota, not going to pretend that's an elite opponent, but it's a difficult Big Ten game, and they were not good in that game either.
Appreciate you, my friend.
Thanks, Jim. Take care.
Appreciate you, sir. Lots more coming up. JD Campbell will join us. Bill Bender is going to join us later as well. Coach, take us to break.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, FreeThink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Jim Coyle with you, Coach. If JD Campbell's, there we go. There's Mr. Murphy. Dale Murphy and Mr. Mattingly from Evansville, right? I'm assuming?
Yeah,
Donnie Baseball. Donnie Baseball.
Yeah, there's and we can go on, but I think we should talk about basketball too because.
But we need to because I haven't mentioned a word of it. I just finished up with Mike and I said, dude, we haven't said a word. But it's just there's so much going on with football. But there's a basketball game tonight. They're coming off a game against Louisville in which they gave up 16 points to open up the game, JD. And I don't care what you're doing, what you're playing. You can't do that.
Well, my thing about basketball and first I want to mention, again, in addition to the 50th anniversary of the great elite best team of all time, 76 Hoosiers, 10th anniversary of our last Big Ten championship. And I give a shout out to those guys, Yogi and Zeisloft and Troy and Thomas and all those guys. But to the point right now is that with the changing landscape of college athletics, and this started about 8-10 years ago, and the changing of the schedules in the Big Ten, this is a brutal stretch to have two conference games played before December 10th, in addition to the, games like used to be the Big Ten ACC Challenge, Gavitt games. It's tough. And the fact that practice starts so much earlier than before, and the guys have to spend so much time in the summer training. A team went to the Puerto Rico. It's amazing right now that you've seen some good games, great games in college basketball, but it's tough, and this is a grind, and that's what everybody in the Big Ten, because I don't know how many other conferences are playing right now, but you've already had West Coast games, USC and UCLA or Oregon, USC, UCLA. It's going to be a big game tonight, but I think IU is going to be in great shape because they're facing a Penn State team that's pretty young, and this will be their first trip on the road. And the first trip on the road, especially if you're not familiar with the Big Ten, is really difficult. So hopefully they'll be able to get it going again tonight. And then nobody's talking about the Kentucky game, so. It's 15 years ago, the last time that we took a team into Lexington, and I know Dickie V's on the game, and that's great. That's great.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I thought the last time that Dickie V was doing an IU game, 3-4 years ago, or whatever it was, and they gave him that great, tribute. I really thought that was the last time Dick Vitale would ever do an IU game. And that is that now that they've got Dave O'Brien, they've got Dickie V, and I think Barkley's on the game as well. So,
oh man, love it.
Yeah. And I'll say it again. Boy, I miss Bill Walton. Bill Walton was the best. But we all, in hindsight, anybody we miss, anybody who leaves us, we certainly miss, but, I think big game tonight. And I think the key for IU tonight is to get out to a lead, just destroy their confidence, destroy what they're doing, destroy how they're feeling. And IU seems to do a really good job of putting the dagger in the heart of teams when they get up pretty good. And I think they did so against Marquette. I think they did so against Kansas State. And I'm proud to be a Hoosier. I'm proud to have been part of that program for so long.
Yeah, they've got a lot of talent. They fought back in that Louisville game. I was sitting there with Scott Laskowski, and I said, well, if you're going to get down 16 points, the best time is to be at the very beginning, because you got the most time to come back, which they fought back and they got close. But that's the thing. You're always going uphill for the entire time trying to get that. And boy, you get there and it doesn't take much, a little bit of a run and you get knocked back on your heels. And after a while, it wears you down trying to come back. It starts forcing you into Indiana kind of taking bad shots. And that's something that I noticed. They're not a great rebounding team, which everybody knows. Part of the reason, though, is I don't think they're very judicious with their shot selection when there's nobody around. I saw Tucker DeVries take an 8-footer last week, and there was not a single Hoosier jersey in the television screen. And I'm like, there's nobody even around to get a rebound if one popped out. So they've got to get some things adjusted. They've got to get some guys back. They're not exactly the most healthy team either. So they don't have all the guys on deck just yet, but they have a lot of talent. They're coached well. They play hard. They just got to stay after it because free throws are going to be important. And they've got to keep the 3-point shooting up because that's kind of their DNA.
Well, and then, another thing about it is, fans tend to look at simply the 40 minutes that you play. But having survived the grind, that is the Big Ten. And, again, they did play the early game I think it was Wednesday. But then in Minneapolis, and this happens in a lot of Big Ten cities, Wisconsin, Iowa, you got to sit on the tarmac in the plane for an hour and a half waiting to get de-iced. That's not an excuse. I'm just saying there are reasons. And again, big week for IU. I think they're going to be okay. Everybody has issues. Certainly, Kentucky has issues. And so it's going to be a fun week. I think they're going to get it done tonight and then roll the dice at Kentucky. But, college basketball, who's the number one team? Can you name the number one team in college basketball right now? No, probably not. I know it is because it's Arizona and my boy Nate. And I talked to him last night.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about our buddy on that. He's been out there for like 5-6 years now.
Yeah, he went out there after Archie's first or second year. But, everything that's going on with the football, and you don't have a long enough show for me to speak the truth on what I see right now in college athletics. And I've got no dog in the fight because I don't care if people get offended by what I say now. But, it's part of the whole thing about seasons overlapping. And this is with all sports, professional and college. Seasons start too early and seasons are way too long. And it's great that you can watch sports on 4 different devices in your house, as I've been learning how to do. Technology, I'm getting the best of it right now.
But maybe you can help out our buddy Don Fisher. You could be his tech guy.
Hey, there is no hope for Don. Let's put it that way.
Not from a technology standpoint. No.
And there was no hope for me. But now I've seemed to have been able to get it, and it's gone pretty good. But hats off. Woo! To the Hoosiers. I think the greatest thing about Saturday night that I remember is watching all the celebration. Heck, my priest at St. Paul's, he and another one, Father Ben and Father Patrick, they got to go on the field. And I said, how did they do that?
Now, Jamie, I'm glad for them. Happy for them. That's not directed at you. I don't even know when this was. I'm just pulling it up because it's cracking me up. We need to get better guests. Probably just need to get a better host on the show. But I'm pissed off. They would not let us on the freaking field after the game.
Hey,
after the game was over, and I'm trying to get out, or like, well, we have to wait till someone from the Big Ten escorts you down there. And after a half, I'm like, when it's over?
Well,
we never got to it. It was right there. And then they go, oh, y'all can go out there now. I'm like, yeah, I guess nobody's out there. But what an incredible night. I mean, for it to happen in Indianapolis, I've talked about how the day was incredible. JD, I don't see how they don't start incorporating, as long as they're able to keep the football championship, start incorporating a basketball game on that day. Indiana's not always going to be in the football championship, obviously, but man, that was a cool thing, having all of that going on. Not that you need it, but the city was buzzing.
Well, it was the perfect storm. You had IU Louisville, which, is there's about 4 or 5 regional teams that you'd like to see play. Again, I don't care now because I'm not part of the team. So, the coaches care, and again, the gauntlet is the gauntlet. And you got to understand that these human beings that are responsible for all these programs, they hear and see everything, and they know. Again, it's really hard when you're involved in it, but the pressure that every coach in college football, basketball, every sport is immense and unbelievable. And it's not just the 40 minutes or the 60 minutes. And so I understand, like I say, I understand. I don't think, again, that's the difference between professional and college. College, you control your own scheduling, with the exception of your conference. In professional sports, it's dictated for you. And if you got to go on the road 3 or 4 games in the NFL, like the Detroit Lions, or you look at Philadelphia last night, nothing you can do. You play your game, and if you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. And your fans are going to be irate the next day regardless. They probably booed the Eagles plane landing this morning at 4 or 5, 6 in the morning after that game last night.
The Eagles have landed. Just kidding. JD Campbell, appreciate you, brother.
Yep.
As always. Enjoy your week. Look forward to getting to talk more about this next week and the historic of it. And because we didn't get to talk about the Heisman, there's a lot to talk about. But I got to get to a break. Got Bill Bender up next from the Sporting News. But appreciate you as always, brother.
Peace out, buddy.
Tell Dr. Garl we said, hey, I want to meet y'all for I can't do breakfast. Lunch one day. We have to do that.
No.
We've got more coming up. Indiana Sports Beat Radio back with much more after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Glad to have you and happier to have Bill Bender from the Sporting News with us. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well. Hey, I'm coming live from a hotel room. Hopefully it's not too echoey. It's good to hear you.
Yeah, I could tell by the background. I'm used to it. Boy, I can spot those things. It's like a museum instantly. But no, you're at the Bronco DeCourcy. Where was that taking place?
It was in Charlotte last night, and
that's right. That's why I said my family lives there. That's why I know that.
I was fortunate enough to present the award to Jacob Rodriguez, and
wow,
what a on behalf of the FWA and the Charlotte Touchdown Club, and he is a remarkable young man with a remarkable family. Perfect embodiment of the award on that nasty defense. Obviously, going to be on a lot of award shows. I thought he should have been a Heisman finalist. I don't know that he would have won the award, but he probably deserved a trip to New York as well. There's not a guy that embodies their program and their defense more than Jacob, and it was great to be around all him and the other finalists. Leonard Moore, Caleb Downs, Cassius Howe, all of those guys were remarkable.
Does Texas Tech have the highest paid? No, they don't. Yeah. I was going to ask if they had the highest paid player in college football. I know they don't because I think that's Michigan's quarterback, I believe. But they have the highest payroll. They do have the highest paid basketball player. I need to be either a fired college coach of any kind or a Texas Tech athlete. That would be a dream job. But yeah, Texas Tech, one of these teams, and glad to see it. I'm happy to see it. I love Big 12 football. First of all, it's fun to watch. Last year it was really good just because they have seemed to have so much more what's the parity? Not this year as much, but Texas Tech kind of jetting away from everybody because BYU was pretty damn good and they kicked the crap out of them both times. So obviously they've separated themselves, which would not really be good for the Big 12 because it's a really good conference. But boy, you if you let someone get away, you put your league in a little danger, a la the ACC, who is just a complete freaking mess.
Yeah, the weekend was polluted by the Notre Dame thing, and you and I can talk about it. I know what Mike probably said on here. I wasn't listening earlier, but I think Notre Dame not being in the playoff is absurd. I think it's a snub of just ridiculousness. Now, BYU, as you were saying, BYU could make that same case. In fact, on an earlier show I was on this morning, I learned that BYU is the only team that's won 10 or more games each of the last two seasons that hasn't been in the playoff in the regular season. They were 10-2 last year. They got to the Big 12 championship this year. They have a complaint too. I just don't like that.
Here's the problem.
Go ahead.
Not to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt you because I agree with you. But the issue is the bloated belief of the SEC. Not that they don't have really good teams, but they're just not the only freaking conference on planet Earth like they think that they are, because there are other teams that are just as good that could beat earlier. Texas A&M is not that good of a football team. I'm sorry, people. They're just not. Georgia, Ole Miss, pretty good. Alabama is going to give it tough. Oklahoma is going to give it tough. Vanderbilt's tough. They're not even in. But they're not the be all end all, and it kind of screws the rest of the sport up, but they don't care. And I'm like, at some point, we were able to play Greg Sankey's comment that he believes the SEC deserves 7 bids. I'm like, okay, you know what?
That's aggravating as all get out. Just go have your own SEC tournament like you have, and you're done. That's it. You can consider yourselves the Southeast National Champions, and y'all can have that little corner of the world and be done with it. But and now on the Notre Dame thing, I was already pissed off about Notre Dame. Not that they didn't get in, because I couldn't give two rats butts. Get in a conference, in my opinion. Get in a conference. One of their losses was to Texas A&M. I don't think it's a good team. Texas A&M 7 conference wins were over teams that were a combined 12-44. 3 of the wins were by 10 points over teams that were 2-12 or whatever their conference records were. So I'm like, yeah.
Well, Jim. This might be the first time I've disagreed with you, which will make for much better entertainment, right?
I know, that's why I like to go off.
Good. Get in a conference, get in a conference where they have tiebreakers, where they have a 5-loss conference champion, or
you're right. I should say get in a conference that doesn't have that whack of a mess,
or get in a conference where I think we do agree on this part, where your teams are overvalued based on yes, you're good, but you cannot objectively tell me that Alabama was better than Notre Dame in the last. They do have 4 wins against ranked teams, but they were not a better football team than Notre Dame in the last month of the season, not by a long shot. I don't look at Alabama as a team that could win a national championship. Had Notre Dame been in the field, I could say maybe they could. Also interested to hear why you think Texas Tech is a bad football team. I actually really
no. If I said that was an accident. Texas A&M.
Texas A&M is not a. I agree with that.
Texas Tech, I've got a ton of respect for. I misspoke if I said that.
No, we're good then. Because I think Texas Tech, Oregon is the potential matchup I'm most excited to watch.
The Ducks are 5. They're one of my 5.
So tell me I'm wrong. 5 teams can win the national title out of the 12. Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Texas Tech, end of list.
Fine.
And Notre Dame would have been 6.
So I would not have put Notre Dame in personally, but I don't think that they have the passing game to go against some of these better defenses this year. They've got a great running game, obviously, but they're kind of a one-man running game with Jeremiah Love, which he's a great one to have. But when you look at Indiana, my God, they've got 3 different guys you got to look out for just in the running backs room. They've got 4 or 5 receivers, and that's in case one doesn't get hurt. They bring somebody else in from the stands that maybe becomes a superstar. They just keep producing these great talent. And Ohio State, so deep. Georgia, God, if they get into the second half of a game, it ain't over until that clock goes ding, 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 man, because they are a dangerous second half team. Texas Tech, so strong. And then Oregon, they're in the position they were in last reverse, Bill, where they kind of had the bad draw being a bye team. Well, now they get to come in the sideways maybe, and maybe it's a better draw for them this time around.
I think they're very dangerous. And just, you base their 1 quarter against Indiana where that game was even until Indiana took it over, right? It was a very even game till the 4th quarter, and Indiana won the football game. I have a bracket. Here's what I think is going to be the end-all interesting theme of this playoff. Once we get past through what's probably going to be a disappointing first round, the quarterfinals will be fun. There is an opportunity, and I have it projected this way, that the Big Ten would have 3 of the 4 semifinalists: Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon, and that would leave Georgia, who I think will win their second round game. And then it becomes, think about the pressure on the SEC then for Georgia to stop this run of Big Ten national titles. And because that's what we count at the end, right, Jim? You could say, what do you remember more? That the Big Ten had a X and X record in this bowl season, or that this team won the national title for the conference? If the Big Ten, especially if Indiana won it or Oregon, because then you would have 3 different teams in 3 different seasons.
Yep. And then there's next year. What if it happens a 4th time? That is something the SEC has not dreamed of. They have dominated. They had a big dominant run, or should I say Alabama and Georgia did. Other than that,
right?
LSU had also won a national title in there, but
they also got busted for cheating all along the way. So don't forget about that. How many times did their coaches get LSU's coach? Both of their coaches, last two national champion coaches, got fired. So yeah, whatever. But yeah, the Big Ten they're not as they appear to not be as deep as the SEC, but I don't know that that's true because I think a lot of that's misperception. But boy, is the Big Ten just strong at the top. And if Indiana did not show that, because Ohio State is a damn good team. That first play when they knocked Fernando into next week, buddy, I didn't know if he was going to get up.
Yeah, they really did. I'm glad Fernando got up. I thought when he was on the turf, Jim, I was thinking that's the end of this game, unfortunately. Like he's not going to get up. Ohio State's going to win by 2 touchdowns, but the toughness he showed there to get up and do that. And there's nothing wrong with a 13-10 game with the way that those two teams played. If they were able to meet in a rematch, I think it'd be a very similar game. It could go either way, but like a 17-10, kind of like when Alabama and Alabama and LSU played a couple years ago, right? When the Tigers won the first one. You're gonna have to help me. I think the first one was like 9-6 was the score, and then they went in the national championship game. It was a very boring national championship game.
Well, I was thinking the other night when this Big Ten championship was 10-6 or whatever, I'm like going, how things have changed, where the SEC used to be those 9-6 games, and buddy, now the Big Ten has the defense. So it was just wild to see, but and we've got the Heisman finalists that have been announced, and great to see Diego Pavia make it in there. And I mentioned this a couple times. There was a point before halftime that I was at the game the other night, and I'm like, buddy, if both these quarterbacks don't get going, Diego Pavia is going to sneak in and win that Heisman Trophy.
Well, so I voted. I'm not, as you know, we're not allowed to say who we voted for, but I can break the race down like this. I have a feeling that Mendoza and Pavia will probably be 1 and 2, and where they have Jeremiah Love situated, he could be 3. Julian's saying, because we do base so much on that conference championship game, fair or unfair, I mean, he's probably going to slip a little bit. And I was talking about him earlier, and it may be a little bit emotional decision because we handed him a trophy last night. I thought Jacob Rodriguez should be a finalist, the linebacker for Texas Tech. I think he's a guy that elevates his program. But then you fall into, okay, is it Caleb? Why isn't Caleb Downs there? Why isn't D'Angelo Pons there? And on we could go. Defensive players never get the respect that's why they have the Nagurski Trophy and the Butkus and those. But I do think the more I will say this, I think the vote's going to be close between Mendoza and Pavia because of the way that this thing is regionally voted for.
Well,
right?
Then is that because you think it's not so much pro Pavia in other region as anti Mendoza from the Big Ten? Like if it's an SEC writers.
Mendoza and Sayin could split some votes up here, and I do think the SEC. I think the SEC guys are going to vote for Pavia, maybe. But now you got me rethinking it, man. You make me think too much this early. Maybe
because
some of those guys don't like Pavia, right?
Fernando's become the overwhelming betting favorite now after that game, as he should have been. Right. I mean, he with that 33-yard pass to Charlie Becker, Charlie Becker. We talked about Elijah Surratt all year. We've talked about Omar Cooper Jr. And it's not that we haven't mentioned Charlie Becker because we've had to, but since that Penn State game, has there been any other player that nobody was talking about at the start of the year that has impacted more big games and big moments than Charlie Becker?
He's big catch Becker. I mean, he really
there you go.
He can, if he starts that T-shirt, he has to send me some of the royalties. But what an amazing catch. What an amazing play. Fernando Mendoza is one of those guys, you hear the coaching cliche all the time about he makes the right plays at the right time all the time. And that's what he did Saturday night. And these receivers,
when they have to be made.
Yeah. And, you said something about 3 weeks ago when I came on here about Ohio State and Indiana's receiving core, and you thought Indiana's was better. And I kind of brushed you off. Like, I gave you a polite answer, but I was like, what's he really talking about? But you were right.
Most people trip me like
You were right. You were right, though. This Indiana receiving core is deep, right? They're at minimum just
from a
as
depth,
good.
Yeah. From a depth standpoint. I mean, there's no question. Ohio State has 2 first-round draft picks, and there's no getting around that. But from a depth standpoint, gee whiz, Omar Cooper goes down in this game. Well, there you got Charlie Becker, you got Elijah Surratt or Norikowski. So yeah, it's just fun.
So before you know it, I'll be less polite like I am with Mike, because then we're going to start to disagree more. That means that, and as I always tell my kids, if you argue with somebody more, that means and you can respectfully do it, that means you actually like the person. So it works out like that on this show too.
Well, I'm obviously I'm not going to say who I voted for, but I will say I had 3 of the 4 on the ballot. I did not vote for 4. I didn't feel the need that the 4th would have just been gratis trip to New York or whatever. And I'm like, I don't care about that. I'm voting for the award. So I have 3 of the 4 finalists, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Fernando wins it. I believe that he does, but I think Pavia comes in second. I really do.
I do
And
too.
so stop and think about. Here's your next story, Bill. The Heisman Trophy winner comes from Indiana. The runner-up from Vanderbilt.
Yeah, this is the world we live in, and
wow,
both grinders too. Like Fernando, like I love that he shows that he cares. He doesn't. You always hear that phrase, like the emotions on his sleeve, whatever. But like he was so emotional Saturday immediately after
he was
the game.
crying.
I love it. Pavia is like he's not Manziel. Manziel was a different. Like I've had to explain Manziel to my 13-year-old son and the phenomenon that he created, where I always describe Johnny Manziel as, Jim, the second game when they played Alabama, I was rooting for Alabama to beat him. And then like it came full circle that I was like, wait, he stood up to him again. Now I like him again. And I kind of have that feeling with Diego Pavia sometimes. Sometimes I can't I don't like it. And then I'm just like, but nobody, he's up there with, there aren't too many guys that mean more to his team than Diego Pavia. And you could say the same thing about Mendoza or Love or, like I said, Rodriguez, the Texas Tech linebacker.
Yeah, and Indiana had a third-string quarterback who was forced into action several years ago against Ohio State, Xander Diamont. He's a little guy, and the other day he posted something about himself because he's out in California where he's from, or Phoenix rather, and but he's still always following and just laughing and trying to poke the Buckeyes and talking about reminding back when some little 5'9", skinny Jewish white quarterback kid that should never been on the field was running wild on him. And but yeah, 1988, the last time Indiana beat Ohio State, by the way. I started to see a lot of national people before the game. It was like 50-50 picking, except for on ESPN, of course, which is, they should change that to SEC in. But the only person to pick Indiana, of course, was Pat McAfee, who showed up for the game at night and, of course, went shirtless and was loved there at Lucas Oil Stadium. But Nick Saban has not given, in my opinion, Indiana and Curt Cignetti very much respect. I don't recall him ever picking them in a big game.
Right. Well, I don't either. I'm going to start. Well, I mean, and don't pick them. Like I thought this game would be close with Ohio State. I did think Oregon was going to beat them. In these quote unquote big games, I've picked it against Indiana too. I think it's at what point do you believe, and how Curt Cignetti's forced us all to believe, and it's amazing. I think Urban said something to the effect of it's maybe the greatest coaching job in college football history, and that sounds like hyperbole until it's not. I mean, you've grown up with this, this. Like Indiana hadn't beat Ohio State since Anthony Thompson was running back, right? Like It's amazing what
Who
Kirk's
actually
been-
should have won that game. He should have won it as well, but
Yeah,
it sounds
he
like
was
came
an
home with-
outstanding running back, at Indiana. And
Indiana missed a chip shot field goal in their last game against Purdue to go 5-6 or something, and ended up with a losing record, which cost him the Heisman. No one, only one man has ever won the Heisman on a losing team, Paul Hornung from Notre Dame, and it was one of the closest votes ever at that time. So to have been that close, I feel bad for AT, because back then he was doing that on a crappy Indiana team against Michigan and Ohio State and Wisconsin and all these big badass lines, and he's sticking 300 yards on Wisconsin and fun. But I think Indiana finally gets their Heisman Trophy winner, and now you're going to say, with all that has gone on, I asked this to Mike actually when Mike was on earlier. I said, how does Curt Cignetti not get a big head now? I mean, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting somebody who's screaming that Curt Cignetti's the greatest in the world. And I'm not saying he's not, but it's just constant. And I don't know, boy, you keep getting that heaped on you. How do you keep that blocked out? He's done a great job of it so far, because he seems to be a very focused individual, why they've had so much success. But boy.
Well, Mike made a great comparison on social media, and I was trying to put a finger on it, where he said, what basketball coach has done this, taken a school that just hasn't won and made it its own with his personality? He put John Calipari. I was like, that's perfect. John Calipari at UMass. That is a very apt comparison, because there are people to this day that still can't stand Cal. And I always say, the thing I like about Cal is he gets 4- and 5-star guys to play defense. You watch his teams; they sometimes they can't shoot free throws, but he can get those guys to play really good defense, and he can wear the villain hat. I don't even know if I consider Curt Cignetti a villain. I just consider him one of these very self-confident coaches, and it rubs off on the program clearly. His players feel it. I wouldn't have, we were talking about it earlier, I wouldn't have picked them to beat Ohio State. I also live in the Central Ohio bubble. I should get some slack for that when you live in Scarlet and Gray.
I didn't come out and say they were going to beat them.
No, I don't. But I was impressed off the jump with the way that they competed, the scheme. Somebody told me about Curt Cignetti, and I'm not sure if it was you. They said you're not going to out scheme him. You're not going to beat him that way. If you beat him, it's going to be because you just have better players than he does, and the gap is unable to be closed. Does that make sense? And I think he proves it.
And the amazing thing is, and I just heard him talk about this maybe yesterday, he basically leaves the defense completely alone. I'm not saying he doesn't know what's going on there, obviously, but he's got Mr. Bryant Haynes over there, who has he been announced as the Broyles Award winner yet?
He should,
because if he's not, it's crazy. And Mike Shanahan has done a great job too, and I don't want to ignore him. But on that side, you've got Cignetti, who is heavily involved in the offense. He's heavily involved in the quarterbacks, and boy, producing a Heisman Trophy winner. They're gonna be beating down the door to try to get in that position, because getting to the next level is what they want. And they're proving Indiana's going to put a lot of guys in the NFL after this season as well.
This is the opportunity to do it, and I think that's the best infomercial. I mean, like Pons, Fisher, both receivers, Mendoza, Carter Smith. I mean, you're going to have a run of. I don't have it in front of me how many players they've had drafted, but you're going to have one of those 7 guys in this draft, 8 guys in this draft, those kind of things. And granted, you could say they're from the portal, but who cares? I mean, they still go down as your guys. I mean, Joe Burrow goes down as an LSU guy. So as that continues, it's a great infomercial for the program. There's no question, Jim.
And it's just going to be fun to watch. I hope it continues, obviously, because we get to cover them, and it's a hell of a lot of fun covering a winner, let me tell you. And it was just, I just wonder what the Ohio State fans were thinking, because I bet you they were just
most of them probably are like, let's go win us a Big Ten championship. So, but just fun to see that. There needs to be, the Big Ten has to have, you cannot have one guy at the top. You can't have a bully. You need four. You need four guys that are rotating and then others that are challenging. And that's where they need to get to. Hopefully that with some coaching stability, they can. Boy, the coaching thing has been crazy. How lucky did Pat Kraft get? Boy, I thought he was going to be out on his ass.
Yeah, Matt Campbell will do a nice job there. There's no question. He will. Matt will do a good job. He comes from that Mount Union coaching tree, and they did not fall into that, but you're lucky you got that guy considering how your coaching search went.
What is up next for you, brother?
I have a couple more radio hits this morning and then a Christmas holiday party at Sporting News. So I may have a cool beer or two after last night. And then we'll get into the Heisman stuff and our All-American team. We're looking forward to it.
Could not tell you how much we appreciate you, brother. You are the best. Look forward to seeing you soon as this season continues.
Let's do a Rose Bowl preview in a couple weeks. Thanks so much, Jim. I'll talk to you then.
Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Make sure you're giving him a follow. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Glad to have you along. Basketball tonight, Indiana taking on Penn State. The Nittany Lions roll into town. We'll also have an opportunity to talk to the most probable Heisman Trophy winner and first ever for Indiana, Fernando Hayes Mendoza, this evening. Don't want to put the cart before the horse just yet, but we'll see. But, yeah, we get a chance to talk to him tonight before the game. We'll speak with Kurt Signetti tomorrow about the Heisman Trophy presentation ceremony that happens this Saturday. And I really wanted to go to that, but Indiana's playing Kentucky in basketball for the first time in over a decade. We've got to travel to Los Angeles, which if anybody that is going that has looked, flights are astronomical. And then hopefully you've got 2 more games after that. There's a lot going on, man. A lot going on. Hey, man, bad news for the Colts. Daniels out for the season with a torn Achilles. Man, these quarterbacks and torn Achilles. But I was going to say old, but speaking of old man Rivers. Are you kidding me? He hasn't played in 5 years, and they're bringing him in off the rocking chair. Phillip Rivers working out for the Colts. My, oh my. We'll see how that works out. Let's see. Yeah, Stephen Daly, man, I don't want to, we'll wait and find out. We'll
we'll talk to Coach Signetti about that tomorrow. But of course, you're not going to find out much. It's he reportedly was injured. I didn't report it, and but boy, that would be a bad loss if it turns out to be just that. So we'll see. And one of the reasons I got so jacked early on about Notre Dame opting out of because they didn't get to play in the playoff. Players are being paid to play today. Not the games that you want to play. Either you're in or you're out. Now, you can agree, disagree. I don't care. It doesn't mean you can have your opinion. I'll have mine, but that's just my take on it. They're paid to play. Don't whine because you didn't get your way. But it will lead to change, just like Greg Sankey is going to bang this gavel. That's why he's banging at the SEC deserves 7 teams in my butt. But no pun intended there. But what's it going to be? There does not need to be more than 16 teams, and I can't see it going beyond that. But they're definitely going to go to 16 as a minimum, because the SEC knows it's the only way they're going to get more teams in. The SEC knows that with ESPN's megaphone blasting them out as being better than they are most of the time, Texas A&M is a paper team. My opinion. I just, man, there's not that many teams that are better than everybody else in the SEC. There's not 7 teams that deserve to be in the CFP. And as I said earlier, for Greg Sankey to say that, I think that's a slap in the face to all the other conferences, all the other teams. Teams like Iowa with 4 losses, to 4 ranked teams by a total of 15 points. I like this. Even though they don't have much of an offense, I'd love to see them against, say, an A&M. But the Big Ten will have their opportunities with the playoffs. And I agree with Bill Bender. I kind of see it being Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon. And damn it, I don't want to be, for that to sound like some Big Ten homer. Because obviously the SEC's got me a little aggravated right now, but I already thought that. I really do. I think that, well, first of all, Indiana's the number 1 team in the country. Ohio State's pretty damn good. We've seen what happens when they get beat at this time of year. They're going to come back hard and heavy. Oregon's in the opposite position they were in last year, which I'm sure they appreciate. Because last year wasn't the draw that they were looking for. It's going to be fun. Before I forget, I need to go to the college football pick'ems because I think the season's over. It's done. They're not. I don't think anything else continues on with the playoffs. Right? Am I right? Let's see. Group. Yep. Group. Let's get to the group. And I mentioned this the other day. It has been amazing. Yeah, that's it. Because there were so many changes at the top toward the end. And your final winner, Todd Graham, wins on points. No, had the best record. Oh, no, wins on points. Brian, man, No, not even Bryant. Yes, Bryant had the most wins with 97, but finishes second. Just 2 points out of first. Finishing in a tie with Bill Overman for second. Great job, guys. First of all, Brian, you went 97-52 against the spread. We need to talk next football season. Okay. I want you to give me your picks, and I'm going to make some bets, and we'll track them on the show. All right. Or actually, I want to do a three-man think tank on this with Tom Graham, who was the winner, Hokie Wolves. Bill Overman was second, Brian Stewart third. Great race between those three. 2 points. Man, congratulations. And speaking of, Tom, yeah, here you go. I need you to, if you hear this, send me your address. Here is a nice embroidered Adidas coat that will be headed your way as soon as I get your information. But congratulations, and thanks to everybody for playing. But yeah, I liked it, and I really liked the fact that there was change at the top at the end, because I saw multiple different people leading. So we're going to do it that way next year as well. Thanks to Pete Clausen for helping us out with that, as he does every round. So big thanks. Let's see, what else do we have going on with on this Tuesday? I want to make sure I did not forget something. Yeah, the Rose Bowl is going to be pricey to go to attend. And how long do you stay? I'm going out and coming back. I'm going out on the 31st, New Year's Eve. Get there that evening. Games the next day. And then I leave and it won't get over until we won't be done until 1 a.m. or something. And then I leave that next day to come back. And then if Indiana wins, they'll be off to Atlanta, the ATL, which is great because everybody can drive to that game, wherever you're coming from, Florida, from Indiana, wherever. And after that, Miami. That would be nice. Nice, real nice to go to Miami in January. The potential is crazy because not only do the Hoosiers get to go out and play in the Rose Bowl as the Rose Bowl, but it's a double-edged thing. It's the Rose Bowl on top of being a college football playoff game. Now, they usually get CFP rings. Do they get a CFP ring and a Rose Bowl ring? Yeah, I'm going to say yes, because the CFP is going to be different, because if they play the second week, they won't, that ring will wait until everything is probably completed for the design to be considered for that one. The Rose Bowl was probably just a separate ring, but how cool would that be? I mean, I think you get one just for playing in it. But yeah, you do. You get one just to play in it. But if you win, it says champion. It says champion on it, which who doesn't want to be a champion? Let's see. Oh, how about James Franklin at Virginia Tech? He's going to hire, he hasn't already, Brent Pry as his defensive coordinator. Why do I mention that? Brent Pry was the head coach of Virginia Tech at the start of the season until he was unceremoniously dumped after 3 games. Tomorrow, we're back at it with plenty more results from tonight's IU basketball game. Of course, you'll hear from Mendoza as he talks about being a finalist for the Heisman Trophy. Indiana never having a Heisman Trophy winner, Anthony Thompson, runner-up in 1989. That changes today or this Saturday, I think. And that is going to be huge for recruiting for Kurt Cignetti. I mean, you've already got guys seeing what he's doing. You've already got the recruiting being affected. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow as well. There's just been too much to get to. Indiana taking on Penn State tonight at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall. You can go to thehoosier.com. Keep up if you're not able to get to the game. Keep up with everything that is going on. And don't forget, please subscribe to thehoosier.com. We cannot, the content there, I don't think you can comprehend how incredible it is in regards to Indiana athletics. All the recruiting, it's aligned with the On3 network. On3 breaks every national recruiting story. They are deep into Indiana's recruiting. You get all of the local coverage, and you can try it for $1. And you subscribe, you get a free subscription to The Athletic for the year. And you get entered into the grand prize giveaway, which is a $300 team-issued Adidas embroidered IU basketball coat. Long, big coat with a hood. Nice, warm. It's over $400 package. There's a quarter zip. There's an IU backpack that goes with it. All you got to do is subscribe. You get entered. It's the easiest thing you can do. $400 package, people. Just go to thehoosier.com. Big thanks to Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, as well as his cohort, Bill Bender. I need to get them on here together one time. Maybe we'll do that depending on maybe prior to the Rose Bowl. I don't know. That's a big deal. But looking forward to being out there, and won't be able to do really a post-game show just because by the time that game gets over out there, it'll only be 8, 9. We'll be done by 9, maybe by 10. That's 1 o'clock back here. So there's that. Big thanks to everybody. Hope you go out and have yourselves a great day. We're back tomorrow. I'm Jim Coyle. Until then, I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.